Fishing content in video games has been one of the more common additions to a game's offering of side content, especially in recent years. Sometimes fishing is a pretty core focus of the experience, essentially being a different playstyle in Stardew Valley, or being a skill you can level up to maximum in RuneScape. Other times, it just feels tacked on, with little to add to the experience and little reason to participate in it. It usually doesn't matter though, because even if the fishing is bad, these games are usually surrounded by much more, or even just much better, content. But what if you only wanted to buy a game because of its fishing content? Fishing has been a popular genre of video games for years, often geared at people who either already like to fish, or people who like the idea of fishing but hate the idea of touching grass. There's been no shortage of them either. From Sega Bass Fishing to Bassmaster Fishing, and even an MMO, Fishing Planet, where you can fish with other people. Largely, it's hard to mess up a fishing game so long as it's the focus of the game. That's not to say there aren't bad ones, I don't doubt they're out there, but again, fishing is hard to mess up. So now, how well does this translate into secondary content in games? Sure, you can do the fishing right if you make it the focus of the game itself, but what if it's just on the side, tucked away for the player to discover, build side quests and extra challenges around it, while staying true to the game itself? And, more importantly for the purpose of this series, how good is the fishing content at being the reason to buy the game? Welcome to Fishing for Compliments, where the side content is the main content. I'm going to do my best to go through a game's entire catalog of fishing-related material. Minigames, side quests, variety of fish, what part it plays in the game, if it's even worth doing at all, and I'm going to shed a little light on whether gaming is ready for fishing minigames or if it's paddling in the kiddie pool. While there might be a game that focuses entirely on fishing at some point, I will largely be featuring video games with fishing as a side activity or alternate playstyle. I want to be clear before we truly begin. I'm here for the game itself and how well it engages the player in the fishing experience, not how true to life that experience may be. To demonstrate this divide as best I can, today we're tackling Sonic Adventure's own fishing storyline, Big the Cat and his journey to find his pet frog. Already, we're breaking a few real-life conventions, as I'm sure at least 90% of you aren't anthropomorphic cats living in the forest of some lost ruins. Here's the thing though, unlocking the main story in the first place. So, we're already off to a bad start. This game's fishing is locked behind an unskippable starting section. The fastest route I can take means going through Sonic's story first, so off I go. It doesn't take a whole lot on Sonic's end to unlock Big, I'll admit. All I need to do is beat the first boss, Chaos Zero, which, frankly, I can do in my sleep. Then I need to watch Tails explode over the beach, go run and save him, talk about some boring stuff that has nothing to do with fishing, and there we have it. Step 1 to unlocking Big done, we can now play as Tails. Step 2 is a little more involved. Tails doesn't meet Big until about halfway into his story, and while it's not a very long story, that's still more time away from Big than I realistically want. I have to get an upgrade for Tails to make his flying at all worth a damn, defeat a boss, and then I have to race Sonic across Windy Valley. And by that, I mean cheat my ass off just because I can, not because I need to. I had time to grab the ring box and grab the emerald, and he still couldn't beat me. Next is Casinopolis, or rather, the waste disposal area. I don't know about you, but this doesn't seem like the best place for a race to me. The main problems are that the tight corridors of this area make running for long stretches kind of hard, but most importantly, there's still no goddamn fishing. But in any case, the final stretch is easy enough to fly through, so I manage with little effort on my part. Then we have to go to Ice Cap, which... okay, in Sonic's story this is probably one of the cooler set pieces, no pun intended, but having Sonic scream in my ears while trying to enjoy the music is just making me want to actually go fishing. Whatever. It still isn't too difficult to do, and it's good practice for what comes next. Oh, sorry, not next. We have a boss fight against Knuckles, who is as gullible as ever, and following that, Chaos 4. The place we're in for this boss fight looks nice enough to just drop a boat, or even a little campsite on the side, and just cast a line in, but unfortunately Tails can't swim and is trying to fight... I don't know, help me out here guys. What kaiju would you say Chaos 4 represents? Something from Godzilla? Something else entirely? I have no clue. Leave a comment. Does make me wish we could just fish the damn Chaos Emerald out of him, though. Oh, God, right. I forgot about Sky Chase. These stages suck. They're a bit clunky to control and last so long, so I'm glad we ended up coming over to Tails' story. Otherwise, we would need to do 2 of these segments to get it big. Yeah, I know, we're already this far into the video, and there hasn't been any fishing, but that's the point I'm trying to get at. I have to unlock the fishing, which, spoiler alert, isn't a point and it's already low favor. Whatever, Sky Chase is easy but tedious, let's just get it over with. So Tails gets shot down over Nom. We run around the woods for a while trying to figure out where the hell to go, find Big's penthouse suite, without him home, shame, and eventually we come across a Chaos Emerald. I skipped the cutscene here, but it gets eaten by Froggy, so we have to chase him down, but somehow he can go faster than us down this sandy hill that's just here, I guess. Seriously, where the fuck are we? What does this have to do with fishing? Anyway, Tails gets to the bottom of the hill, starts to have a bad trip from licking frogs, finds himself a snazzy new ribbon in the process, asks directions from a nice young lady, and then after coming down from his trip hours later, is assaulted by the star of the show. Finally, after all that work, we can play through the actual story of Sonic Adventure. And then we have to chase Froggy down. Before anything else though, grab the sewer lure. Somehow, Froggy is smart enough to hop on a train to the Big Apple, so we have to follow suit and chase him out of the train station, down the street, into the sewers. Thank God Big can lift cars or we'd be screwed. So we jump in, and without questioning why there's an elevator that leads from the sewers into an amusement park, or even how our frog friend managed to use the elevator at all, we're finally in level 1, Twinkle Park. Twinkle Park is honestly one of the easiest levels in the game to get Froggy in. It's less of a park and more of just a pool of water, so it doesn't take a whole lot. So I should probably explain how to fish in this game. Holding down the action button, you pull out your fishing rod and then have a reticle where your bobber will land. It is your job to cast the rod in a place where the fish will be attracted to it, hook them when they bite by holding down on the control stick, and then reel them in. You can reel them in slowly with the action button, or faster using the jump button. Reeling will raise your tension, however, the gauge on the right, and if the line is under too much tension and reaches the top of the meter, it will snap and you will lose a life. You can also move your rod a bit to the left and right to try and center the fish closer to where you're facing, and that can allow you an easier time to reel them in. And as an extra little tip, you can cancel your rod's cast if you don't have a bite on the hook by pushing both of the camera buttons. It doesn't matter where it is, so long as you don't have a fish on the line. Now for the story missions, you only need to reel in Froggy. Anything else is just for high scoring, which I don't really care about. Getting a high score in these missions does not do anything, and you only need to care about the weight of a fish in the extra challenges when we revisit these levels later. So until then, just focus on finding and acquiring Froggy. In this first level, finding him isn't too hard, but you can't be as explorative as you can in later levels. Right now, Big sinks like a rock, so you have to stay on the edge of the pool. Thankfully, there are springs in the bottom of the pool, so it's not a huge problem if you fall in, but he can and will drown if left underneath, and that will cost you a life. So we find Froggy and reel him in, but he slips out of our grasp. Leaving Twinkle Park, though, we manage to find a familiar stone from Tails' story. We grab the ice stone and board the train again, because Froggy is still intelligent enough to ride trains, but Big isn't smart enough to go looking for him on the train. Like, come on, the chances of him having boarded another train right before the one that you did are so slim. He has to be just hiding under one of the seats of the train, right? Arriving at the Mystic Ruins, we say hi to Knuckles, ride the updraft to the ice cave, place the stone on the pedestal, and then acquire our next power-up. But we're not done just yet. I want to have as easy a time as possible, and when we started this, you probably noticed the power-up just under Big's bed. So we're going to run off into the woods, move our bed out of the way, and grab the power rod. And with one more stop, we search the woods for a while until we find a little piece that's tucked away. This gets us our second lure power-up. Now that we have all of that, return to the ice caves. The life belt allows us to cross this little pond here, climb up the ladder with surprising speed, and arrive at our ice cap is the next stage on our tour to Froggy, and it's a little confusing to navigate. I'd make the argument that it's the worst stage of the 4, if only because it's so big. The final area is also a bit bigger than it needs to be, but at least it's largely linear. Anyway, in order to progress, we need to break the ice. You can either pick up a boulder and chuck it in, or honestly, you could just jump through it. You're basically the size of a boulder anyway. Also, spoiler warning, these ponds are where you'll be fishing for the whole stage. There's a certain path you want to take that'll lead you to your third lure power-up, so be sure you don't miss that. But be careful, because you can get stuck trying to navigate here. When you're underwater, the camera is often locked in place, so maneuvering can be a little weird, especially with all the bones under here that we never actually get an explanation for. They're kind of neat, and I wish there was lore for what the hell these were. Shit, I wish I could have tried to catch them. It would probably be more fun than the large fish. Anyway, enough rambling. I gotta find Froggy! I should say right now that I don't want to be too harsh on this. The game is over 20 years old after all, but there's a reason that people remember this being the worst fishing game. The fish AI is finicky, seemingly randomly deciding if it hooks on or not, and you could be right next to a fish, but it doesn't matter, because another fish locked onto the lure from a mile away. To top that off, this level in particular is god-awful because you have such a small place to reel them in from, and if you deviate from that in any way, you'll reel them into the ceiling of the lake, causing the fish to despawn and making you start all over. Thankfully you don't lose a life from this, but the fact that you have such a small space to fish in is just awful. Despawning fish is a somewhat common issue later when you're trying to catch bigger fish as well, but I'll get to that when I finish the story. After much trial and error, however, I managed to catch the frog one more time. And Big, the oaf he is, lets the frog slip away again. We run out of the ice caves to catch him and find some random fox holding our friend hostage. Big goes to tackle the child and rescue his friend, but then the frog just runs away again and boards the train. Again! We're 3 for 3 now, and Big still hasn't just looked under the seats on the train or even checked any of the other cars. Dude, the frog is on the train with you. I swear. Whatever. We get out of the train, and our next stop on Big's big fishing adventure is the beach. That's right. Admittedly, this level's pretty short if you know what you're doing. As far as the story levels go, I'd say it's the easiest one, but I always spend a little time playing with the robot monkeys, and then I go into the secret cave in the level thinking Froggy's going to be there. He's not, but it's good to remember that this is here because there's something we have to do later. Eventually, I just find him hanging out by the base of the lighthouse, so we fish him up and we're good to go, I think. For once, he doesn't just get out of our hands and board a train. This time, he's taken by a fellow frog enthusiast to the egg carrier. Big gives chase and I guess gets on board the egg carrier before it takes off, which is impressive given he can't fly and it was in the Mystic Ruins. I always assumed that Gamma flew up here with Froggy. Maybe Big can use his fishing rod as a grappling hook? We did get the power rod, maybe it reaches farther than we think it can. Honestly, having a segment like that in this game would have made this whole story so much cooler. So, once again, Big gets on board and manages to sniff out Froggy. We could go that way, but if we take another door, we find our way to the prison cells, giving us our last lure power-up and the last power-up of Big's story. With that out of the way, we leave the cells and enter the middle door here, which takes us to our last level, Alright, Hot Shelter, let's go. Now this one's a little trickier. It's a long stage compared to his other ones, and... Oh, it's over, actually. Just a bit of a walk, hit a button, catch frog. That's it. Well, now that we've got him, we're going to be whisked away to go have a chat with this nice lady. It's a real shame we don't see more of her. I would have liked to know what her deal is. You think she likes fishing? Anyway, with that done, the airship is definitely not the place we want to be right now that we have our Pollywog pal. So we head up to the deck and... Oh. Well, there goes the frog. Shit.
Aim for the frog and cast your lure.
So, yeah. Now we gotta find a way off the ship. Fortunately for Big, he doesn't know how to fly a plane, but he sure knows how to improvise. Taking this random plane we found and never learned the history of, Big flies off the airship, ready to live out his days with his best friend once again, and then lose him again. Because time is a circle. So, that's it. That's the story of Sonic Adventure. A game with a weird opening that has nothing to do with the rest of the game, featuring characters we never see again, and then a short, tedious set of missions that have our hero catching the same frog over and over. Is this really what people loved the Dreamcast for? Maybe there's more to look at in the bonus content? After you complete the main storyline, you unlock mission mode. And there's not much here either. Like, okay, you look at this list right here. The game says there are 60 missions, so you'd think we'd be here a while, but I can only manage to do 8 of them, and they aren't even numbered correctly. Is this unfinished content? Did they just give up halfway through to make a Dreamcast port of Sega bass fishing? Whatever, 8's what we gotta work with, let's make the most out of it. It's a short set, so we'll go through them as they come up. For the first mission, there's a medallion in the sewers. We pick up the car once again, jump down, there it is. Has nothing to do with fishing, but it's not too difficult. Next, Keeper of the Hotel. It's a simple enough job with your lure upgrades. Just go into the hotel, catch the mecha fish in the pool. These Catch Me If You Can missions all feature one of these mecha fish, and they're a bit of a pain to catch sometimes, but they're not the most difficult ones in the game. After that, there's the Hidden Flag in Emerald Coast. This one's simple enough. The giant rock in the middle of the beach houses a secret cave that you can swim into. Collect the flag, then you're free to leave. There's another mecha fish in the sewers behind Twinkle Park, remember to grab it as well. This one can be a bit tricky given the limited space, but it's not too difficult, all things considered. No, the hard part is just getting out of the water. Or maybe I just suck at it. Back at the Mystic Ruins now, we go to the Monkey Cave. I still don't know what this little guy is for since you can't attack him. Maybe he just marks the cave for you so you can find the mission card? Anyway, this card gets you another Keeper mission, this time in the icy pond you find your floaty in. Go ahead and grab him. The next card to grab can be a little tricky. It's on the train tracks, and I don't know if you noticed, but Big is about as wide as the train itself. You can make it around with a little effort though, and that just takes us to Ice Cap for the dinosaur skeleton. Should I have grabbed this before getting the Keeper? Yes, of course. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, go back to Ice Cap and go looking for the fossils. Go into the eye and collect something, the camera messed up here, and then just let Big go back to his home planet or get stuck in a wall, whichever happens first. And then have a hard time getting out of the water. Again, seriously, is this a skill issue on my part? Probably, yeah. Don't answer that.
Huh?
Now that we're done with that, let's stop back by our penthouse and... Wait. Find 3 flags? Alright, so we're 7 missions into his 8, and there have been 4 that have nothing to do with fishing. Seriously, what was even the point? Big doesn't strike me as the kind of dude who would bum around sewers and go diving in secret caves just because. No, this man is looking to fish, damn it! Why would you have him jump into the sewers for your collectible coin? Why is he running down a path to collect 3 flags that have nothing to do with fishing? Why is the secret underwater cave not a prime fishing spot? What could he possibly want just sitting in a dinosaur skull? Another flag? None of this has anything to do with fishing. Why is it even in the game? Anyway, the last mission's on the egg carrier in the far back. Just go collect the card, go to the pool room, collect the last mecha fish keeper. That's the last mission. 4 fishing missions and 4 random bullshit objectives that just waste our time. Big the Cat deserves better. So, where does this leave us? Is Sonic Adventure worth your time? Honestly, I don't know, man. I don't see the appeal personally. The fishing content is nowhere near substantial enough. All you do is catch the same frog over and over. There's one boss fight that would be interesting if there was more done with it, but it takes so little time, and it's little more than a random encounter. Now, I know I said I'd talk more about the game's B and A rank missions, where you have to catch larger fish. Honestly, I don't have the patience for it. For those missions, you catch a single fish that's your target weight, very specifically not multiple fish to reach the target weight. And then you catch Froggy. And then you do it again for the A rank, which needs an even heavier fish. The heavy fish you need to catch will fight you tooth and gill to be caught, which you expect, but the way they do that is by taking your controls away from you so the fish can swim out to a completely different location with your hook in its mouth and then let you try to fish it back. And then if that wasn't bad enough, the heavier fish for A ranks will do it twice, at least. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more, but honestly, especially after that one fish in Emerald Coast disappeared, I just gave up. This is all in service to nothing anyway. Doing all of Big's missions won't get you a reward, so I won't bother. And sure, there's some ways to cheat it by fishing right up against the fish, but that's both way too finicky and defeats the purpose of fishing them out in the first place. Sonic Adventure is a terrible game with lackluster fishing content, but it did give us Big the Cat, and that's a guy I wouldn't mind hanging out with.